Alex Carter wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the clock on the factory wall. It showed 11:47 p.m. He had been working for 16 hours straight, fixing broken machines that kept the Denver steel plant running. His back hurt, his eyes burned, and all he wanted was to go home and sleep. The last machine finally hummed back to life. Alex packed his tools and walked to his old truck in the parking lot. The engine coughed and wheezed, but it started. Just like Alex, it was tired, but still working. His apartment was small and lonely. One room, a tiny kitchen, and a bathroom that leaked. Alex heated up leftover pizza in the microwave and ate it while standing at the window. The city lights twinkled below, but they felt cold and distant. At 28, this was his life. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. Alex fell onto his bed without changing clothes. His body sank into the cheap mattress like a stone dropping into water. Within minutes, he was asleep. But something was wrong with his sleep. Instead of the usual darkness, colors swirled around him. Bright blues and purples danced in patterns he had never seen before. His body felt strange, like it was floating in warm honey. Time seemed to stretch and bend. Then everything stopped. Alex opened his eyes and immediately knew he was not in his apartment anymore. The ceiling above him was not made of cracked plaster, but of something that looked like crystal. It glowed with soft white light that did not hurt his eyes. The air smelled sweet, like flowers he could not name. He sat up quickly and looked around. The room was huge, bigger than his entire apartment. The walls were the same crystal material as the ceiling, smooth and beautiful. Strange symbols glowed along the edges, pulsing like a heartbeat. Alex tried to stand but felt dizzy. The gravity was lighter here, making him feel like he might float away. His work clothes were gone. Instead, he wore a soft silver robe that felt like silk against his skin. "Where am I?" he said out loud. His voice echoed strangely in the big room. "You are safe, Alex Carter of Earth." The voice came from behind him. Alex spun around, and his heart nearly stopped. Standing in the doorway was the most amazing and terrifying creature he had ever seen. She was tall, maybe 8 feet, with pale blue skin that seemed to shine from within. Her body was elegant and graceful, but also powerful. She had 4 arms instead of 2, and her fingers were long and delicate. Her face was beautiful, in a way that was completely alien. Large silver eyes looked at him with intelligence and something else he could not name. Her hair was white like starlight and flowed around her head as if it was underwater. Most shocking of all, she wore a crown made of the same crystal as the walls. This was clearly someone very important. Alex stumbled backward until he hit the wall. "What are you? Where am I?" The creature moved closer, and Alex could see that her movements were fluid like water. When she spoke, her lips moved, but the words seemed to come from inside his head. "I am Queen Zixara of the Velnari Empire. You are on my ship, 47 light years from your homeworld." Alex's legs gave out and he slid down the wall to sit on the floor. 47 light years? That's impossible. I was just in Denver. I went to sleep in my bed. The Queen knelt down in front of him, bringing her face closer to his level. Her silver eyes were kind but serious. "You have been sleeping for 3 months, Alex Carter. We brought you here while you were in stasis. Your body never felt the journey." 3 months? Alex felt sick. "Why? Why did you take me?" Queen Zixara stood and walked to the window. With a gesture of her hand, the crystal wall became transparent. Outside, Alex saw stars unlike any he had ever seen. Nebulae in brilliant colors stretched across space like painted clouds. 3 moons hung in the distance, each one a different color. "My people are dying," she said quietly. "We have lived for thousands of years, but we cannot adapt. We cannot change. Our children are born weak and sick. Soon, there will be no more Velnari." She turned back to Alex. "We have studied your species for many years. Humans have something we do not. You call it many things. Hope, stubbornness, the refusal to give up. We call it the spark of life." Alex shook his head. I don't understand. What does that have to do with me? The Queen sat on a chair that seemed to grow from the floor. Our scientists believe that joining our species with yours might save us both, but it must be willing. I will not force you. You're talking about, Alex could not finish the sentence. I am asking you to be my mate, Alex Carter, to help me save my people and create a new future for both our species. Alex stared at her. This had to be a dream. Aliens, space travel, being chosen to mate with a queen. It was crazy. But the crystal walls felt real under his hands. The strange gravity was real. The sweet air filling his lungs was real. And the desperate hope in the Queen's silver eyes was very real. What if I say no? Alex asked. Then you will. Be our honored guest while we search for another solution. We will not harm you. When we find a way, we will return you to Earth if you wish. Alex looked out at the alien stars. Somewhere out there, 47 light-years away, was his small apartment and his boring job. Here was adventure beyond his wildest dreams, but also responsibility he never asked for. I need time to think, he said. Queen Zixara nodded. Of course. Vexen will show you to your quarters and answer your questions. Take all the time you need. As if summoned by her words, a younger Velnari appeared at the door. This one was smaller than the Queen, with green-tinted skin and only 2 arms, but the same silver eyes looked at Alex with curiosity. I am Vexen, the newcomer said. I will be your guide and teacher. Alex stood up slowly, still feeling strange in the light gravity. Guide to what? To understanding why you might be the most important human who ever lived, Vexen replied. As Alex followed Vexen from the Queen's chamber, he looked back once. Queen Zixara stood by the window looking out at the stars. For all her power and alien beauty, she looked very lonely. Alex realized that maybe he was not the only one who had been taken from everything he knew. The corridor outside was filled with more wonders than Alex could process. Other Velnari moved through the halls, all tall and graceful, all with that same inner light to their skin. Some stopped to stare at Alex, their silver eyes wide with curiosity. They have never seen a human before, Vexen explained. You are the first of your kind to leave your solar system. Great, Alex muttered. No pressure. But as they walked deeper into the alien ship, Alex felt something stirring inside him. Fear, yes. Confusion, definitely. But also something he had not felt in a long time. Excitement. Alex's new room was bigger than his entire apartment back on Earth. The walls could change from crystal clear to solid, and they could show any view he wanted. Right now, they displayed the rolling hills of Colorado, making him feel a little less homesick. Vexen visited him every day, teaching him about Velnari culture and language. The young alien was fascinated by everything about humans, asking endless questions that sometimes made Alex laugh. Why do humans cry when they are sad? Vexen asked one morning. We have studied your biology. The water serves no useful purpose. Alex wiped his eyes. He had been looking at pictures of Earth and feeling sorry for himself. I don't know. We just do. It makes us feel better somehow. Fascinating. Vexen made notes on a device that looked like liquid metal. And why do you make those strange sounds when you find something amusing? You mean laughing? Alex demonstrated with a small chuckle. Same reason we cry, I guess. It just happens. Vexen tried to copy the sound and failed badly, making a noise, like a broken engine. Alex laughed harder, which made Vexen try again, which made Alex laugh even more. I do not understand, Vexen said, but I find myself wanting to make that sound too. Over the following weeks, Alex learned about the Velnari Empire. It was vast, covering hundreds of worlds and protecting thousands of different species. The Velnari were the leaders because they were the oldest and most advanced. But Alex noticed something troubling in everything Vexen told him. They never changed anything. Ever. This is how we have always done it, became a phrase Alex heard constantly. The Velnari had perfect systems for everything, worked out over thousands of years. But perfect systems, Alex realized, were also brittle systems. He saw this firsthand. when Vexen took him to tour the ship's engine room. The power systems were incredibly advanced, using energy sources that humans had only dreamed of. But Alex, with his mechanic's eye, spotted problems immediately. "Why do you route the power through so many different channels?" Alex asked, pointing at a display showing energy flow. "It is the most efficient method," the chief engineer, Kexara, replied. She was older than Vexen, with darker blue skin and the confident manner of someone who knew her job well. "Our ancestors perfected this design 3,000 years ago." Alex studied the display more carefully. "But look, if you bypass these 3 nodes here and rerouted the flow directly, you would lose almost no energy in transfer." Kexara's forearms moved in what Alex had learned was the Velnari equivalent of a shrug. "The design is perfect. It cannot be improved." "But what if we just tried?" Alex asked. "Just as an experiment?" The very idea seemed to disturb Kexara. "We do not experiment with perfection." That night, Alex could not sleep. He kept thinking about the power systems and the stubborn refusal to even consider changes. Finally, he got up and made his way back to the engine room. The ship never slept. Velnari worked in shifts to keep everything running smoothly. The night shift engineer was a young male named Dexon, who seemed less rigid than his superiors. "I want to show you something," Alex said, "just to satisfy my curiosity." Dexon looked nervous but intrigued. "What do you want to see?" Alex explained his idea about the power routing. Dexon listened carefully, then shook his head. "It would never work. The design is perfect." "But what if it did work?" Alex pressed. "What if we could make the ship run more efficiently? Wouldn't that be worth trying?" Dexon was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he said, "There is a secondary system we could test your idea on. If it failed, it would not damage the ship." It took them 3 hours to make the modifications. Alex's hands-on experience with machinery proved useful, even with alien technology. When they were done, Dexon activated the test system. The efficiency immediately jumped by 23%. Dexon stared at the readings in shock. "This is impossible. The design was perfect." "Maybe perfect isn't the same thing as best," Alex suggested. Word of the improvement spread quickly through the ship. Within days, Alex found himself summoned to appear before the Queen and her advisors. He was nervous as he entered the Grand Council chamber, where a dozen high-ranking Velnari sat in a circle around him. Queen Zixara looked at him with those penetrating silver eyes. "You have caused quite a disturbance, Alex Carter." "I didn't mean to cause trouble," Alex said. "I just noticed something that could be improved." "Improved?" Lord Commander Texnor stood up. He was the largest Velnari Alex had seen, with darker skin and scars that suggested he was a warrior. "Our designs are perfect. They have served us for millennia." "But if they could be better," Alex began. "Nothing is better than perfect." Texnor's voice echoed in the chamber. Queen Zixara raised one of her hands for silence. "Tell me, Alex Carter, how did you see what our engineers could not?" Alex thought about how to explain. "On Earth, we have a saying. If it's not broken, you can still probably make it better. We're always trying new things, even when the old things work fine." "Why?" asked Kexara, who was present as the chief engineer. "Because maybe there's a better way. Maybe we just haven't found it yet." Alex looked around the circle of alien faces. "Your people are amazing. You've built an empire that spans the galaxy. But you stopped trying new things. You decided you were perfect and that was that." "We are perfect," Texnor growled. Alex shook his head. "No, you're not. If you were perfect, your people wouldn't be dying. If you were perfect, you wouldn't need me." The chamber fell completely silent. Alex realized he might have gone too far. But Queen Zixara leaned forward, her expression intense. "Continue," she said quietly. "Your problem isn't that you're not smart enough or advanced enough. Your problem is that you stopped changing. Life has to change to survive. When it stops changing, it dies." Alex saw several of the advisors exchange glances. He was saying things they had probably thought but never dared to speak aloud. The Queen stood up. Lord Commander Texnor, implement the humans' power system improvements fleet-wide. My Queen. Texnor protested. This goes against 3,000 years of tradition. Yes, she replied calmly. It does. Later that evening, Alex was in his room when the Queen arrived alone. He had never seen her without advisors or guards before. May I enter? She asked. Alex nodded, suddenly aware that he was wearing casual clothes while she was still in her formal robes and crown. She walked to the window wall and made it transparent, showing the starfield outside. You spoke truth today, Alex Carter. Truth that my people needed to hear but did not want to face. I didn't mean to cause problems. You caused exactly the right kind of problems. She turned to face him. Tell me about your world. Tell me about change. Alex joined her at the window. Earth is messy. We make mistakes all the time. We try things that don't work, and then we try something else. We fight and argue and disagree about everything. That sounds chaotic, Alex smiled. It is. But it's also how we learn, how we grow. Every generation tries to do things better than the one before. Even when the old ways work? Especially then. Working isn't the same as thriving. The Queen was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, I became Queen when I was very young. The old Queen, my mother, died from the genetic sickness that is killing our people. I was not ready, but I had no choice. Alex could hear the pain in her voice. That must have been hard. I have tried to be the perfect queen, to follow all the old traditions, to make no mistakes. But my people are still dying. She looked at him with those silver eyes that seemed to hold the weight of the galaxy. Perhaps it is time to try something different. What do you mean? I mean that I chose you not just because our scientists said humans and Velnari could create healthy offspring. I chose you because you think differently than we do. Because you see possibilities where we see only tradition. Alex felt his heart beating faster. Are you saying? I am saying that I would like to know you better, Alex Carter. Not as a duty to my people, but as a choice for myself. Her alien features softened slightly. Is that something you might want as well? Alex looked at this amazing being who commanded an empire, but was still just a person facing impossible choices. Yes, he said simply. I think I would like that, very much. Outside the window, the alien stars seemed to shine a little brighter. 3 months later, Alex stood in the same crystal chamber where he had first met Queen Zixara. But now it looked different. Now it felt like home. He wore ceremonial robes that Vexen had helped him choose. They were silver like the Queen's, but with blue patterns that reminded him of Earth's oceans. Today was the day he would formally accept his role as royal consort. But he had insisted on conditions. I want a voice in how the empire is run, Alex had told the Queen during their negotiations. Not because I'm your mate, but because human ideas might help solve problems. Zixara had agreed immediately. Your thoughts are valuable, Alex Carter. I want to hear them. I also want to stay human. I'll learn your customs, but I won't give up mine. I would not ask you to. The hardest request had been the last one. I want you to contact Earth. Not to invade or interfere, but to start talking, to begin exchanges between our peoples. This had caused long debates in the council. Many Velnari thought humans were too primitive to be trusted with knowledge of the Empire. But Alex had argued that isolation was part of what was killing the Velnari. You need new ideas, he had said. Earth has billions of humans, each one thinking differently. Some of those thoughts might save your people. In the end, Zixara had agreed to send a peaceful contact mission to Earth. Now, as Alex waited for the ceremony to begin, he thought about how much had changed. The Queen had begun implementing more of his suggestions. Ship designs were being modified. Agricultural techniques were being improved. Most importantly, young Velnari were being encouraged to question old methods and propose new ones. Not everyone was happy about the changes. Lord Commander Texnor had been especially vocal in his opposition. But even he had to admit that the innovations were working. The ceremony was about to begin when alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Vexen burst into the chamber. "My queen, the Kethmore have attacked the mining colony at Pextala." Alex had learned about the Kethmore during his cultural studies. They were a confederation of militaristic species who believed that strength gave them the right to conquer others. The Velnari Empire was the only thing keeping them from enslaving half the galaxy. Zixara immediately shifted from bride to military commander. "How many ships?" "3 battle fleets, my queen." They struck without warning during the shift. "Change." Alex watched as the queen's advisors gathered around tactical displays that materialized in the air. The situation looked bad. Pextala was a mining world with millions of civilians and only a small defense force. "We can have our nearest fleet there in 6 hours," reported General Kexara, who had been promoted after supporting Alex's engineering improvements. "The colony will be destroyed by then," Texner said grimly. "The Kethamore do not take prisoners." Alex studied the tactical display, his engineer's mind working on the problem. "What if we don't try to fight them head-on?" The Velnari looked at him with confusion. "What do you mean?" "On Earth, when a smaller force fights a larger one, they don't meet them in open battle. They use hit-and-run tactics. They strike where the enemy is weak and disappear before the enemy can respond." "That is not honorable combat," Texnor protested. "It's effective combat," Alex replied. "And right now, effective might save more lives than honorable." Zixara studied the display. "Explain your idea." Alex pointed to the asteroid field near Pextala. "The Kethmore are focused on the planet. They won't expect attacks from behind. If we send fast ships through the asteroid field, we can hit their supply vessels and support ships. Without supplies and support, their main battle fleet will have to retreat. The asteroid field is too dangerous for large ships," General Kexara pointed out. "Then we use small ships, fighters. We make quick strikes and run away before they can catch us." The Velnari had never fought this way before. Their military doctrine was based on honorable ship-to-ship combat between equals. But Alex's plan made sense, even if it felt wrong to their cultural instincts. "We would be attacking ships that cannot defend themselves properly," Texner said with disgust. "And they're attacking civilians who can't defend themselves at all." Alex shot back. "Sometimes you have to choose between honor and results." Zixara made the decision. "We will try the human way. General Kexara, deploy fighter squadrons immediately." The plan worked better than anyone had expected. The Kethmore fleet, designed for massive frontal assaults, couldn't adapt to the quick, small-scale attacks. Within 4 hours, they had lost most of their support ships and were forced to retreat. But the victory came with a cost that Alex hadn't anticipated. Vexen had volunteered to lead one of the fighter squadrons. During the final attack on a Kethmore command ship, his fighter was destroyed. Alex stood in the medical bay looking down at his friend's broken body. Vexen was still alive, but barely. The Velnari doctors said there was no hope. "I am sorry, Alex Carter," Vexen whispered. "I wanted to be brave like a human." "You were brave," Alex said, tears running down his face. "You were the bravest person I know. Do not cry for me. We saved the colony. We saved millions of lives." Vexen died, holding Alex's hand. It was Alex's first real understanding of what leadership meant. His ideas had saved the colony, but they had also cost his friend's life. Zixara found him later, still sitting beside Vexen's body. "This is the price of command," she said softly. "Every decision we make, someone lives or dies because of it." "How do you bear it?" Alex asked. "By remembering that doing nothing is also a choice. And usually it's the choice that costs the most lives." The funeral ceremony was held the next day. Vexen was honored as a hero who had died saving others. But Alex couldn't shake the feeling that his friend had died because of ideas Alex had brought from Earth. After the ceremony, the original plan resumed. Alex and Zixara were formally bonded in a ceremony that blended Velnari traditions with human customs. Instead of just exchanging vows, they also exchanged wedding rings, a human tradition that fascinated the Velnari. The real breakthrough came a week later. Dr. Nexara, the chief medical scientist, burst into the royal quarters with news that changed everything. My queen, the genetic fusion has succeeded. Alex and Zixara had provided genetic samples months ago. Velnari scientists had been working to create viable offspring that combined the best traits of both species. Show us, Zixara commanded. The TA's laboratory was filled with devices Alex didn't recognize, but he could understand the excitement on the scientists' faces. Dr. Nexara led them to a container filled with glowing liquid. Inside are the first hybrid embryos, she explained. They carry Velnari longevity, telepathic abilities, and disease resistance, but they also have human adaptability, emotional range, and most importantly, genetic diversity. Alex stared at the container in wonder. They're really going to work? Better than we hoped. The hybrid offspring will be able to reproduce successfully with both pure Velnari and pure humans. Within 3 generations, we can revitalize the entire Velnari gene pool. But not everyone was celebrating. That night, as Alex and Zixara reviewed reports in their private chamber, Lord Commander Texnor arrived with a dozen armed guards. This abomination ends now, he declared. I will not let our pure blood be contaminated by this alien infection. Alex stepped protectively in front of Zixara, even though he knew he was no match for trained Velnari warriors. You're making a mistake, Texnor. The mistake was bringing you here, the Lord Commander snarled. You have poisoned our queen's mind with your primitive ideas. You have corrupted our military with your cowardly tactics. And now you seek to destroy our very essence with your mongrel offspring. Those mongrel offspring are going to save pure people, Alex said. Better to die pure than live corrupted. Alex couldn't believe what he was hearing. You'd rather let your entire species die out than accept help from humans? Yes. The word hung in the air like a poison. Alex realized that some minds simply could not be changed, no matter how good the evidence. But he also realized something else. He had learned things during his time with the Velnari. He understood now why Zixara had chosen him, and it wasn't just for his genetics or his engineering skills. Texnor, Alex said calmly, I challenge you to single combat. The chamber went completely silent. Even Zixara stared at him in shock. Alex, no, she whispered. He'll kill you. Maybe, Alex replied. But this is something humans do. When someone threatens what we love, we fight for it. Even if we can't win, Texnor laughed a harsh sound. You would challenge a Velnari warrior? You're even more foolish than I thought. Probably. But I'm going to do it anyway. The fight was short and brutal. Texnor was faster, stronger, and trained in combat techniques Alex had never seen. Within minutes, Alex was on the floor, bleeding from multiple wounds, but he kept getting up. Every time Texnor knocked him down, Alex got back to his feet. He couldn't match the Velnari's skill, but he refused to stay down. Why do you continue? Texnor demanded after knocking Alex down for the 10th time. You cannot win. Alex spat blood and stood up again. Because that's what humans do. We don't know when to quit. It is pointless. Maybe. But it's who I am. Something in Alex's words seemed to reach the other Velnari in the room. They had never seen someone fight so hopelessly yet so determinedly. Even Texnor's own guards were beginning to look uncertain. The Lord Commander raised his weapon. 6 months after the failed coup, Alex stood on the command bridge watching something that filled him with both pride and fear. The first hybrid children had been born, and they were everything the scientists had promised. But now, those same children were the reason the entire galaxy was at war. War Master Gorthak of the Kethmore Confederation had declared a holy war of extermination against the Velnari Empire. His message had been broadcast across all known space. The Velnari have polluted themselves with alien blood. This contamination must be burned out before it spreads to other pure species. What made it worse was that Gorthak was not entirely wrong about the threat. The hybrid children were remarkable. Little Zara, Alex and Zixara's firstborn daughter, was only 6 months old but already showed signs of telepathic abilities far beyond normal Velnari children. She could sense emotions from across a room, and had once stopped crying when Alex was sad, reaching out tiny hands as if to comfort him. The other hybrid children were similarly gifted. They learned faster, adapted quicker, and showed creativity that amazed their Velnari teachers. If they had children of their own, and those children bred with pure Velnari, within a few generations the entire species would be transformed. That potential terrified species like the Kethmore, who believed in racial purity and genetic superiority. Report, Zixara commanded as she entered the bridge. She was carrying baby Zara, who had refused to stay in the nursery during the battle preparations. Kethmore fleets have taken 17 outer colonies, General Kexara reported. They're not just conquering them, my queen. They're destroying everything, burning cities, killing civilians, even destroying farmland. Alex felt sick. This was different from the previous Kethmore attacks. Those had been about resources and territory. This was about wiping out anything touched by human influence. They're trying to send a message, Alex said. They want other species to see what happens when you work with humans. Then we must send a message of our own, Zixara replied. What is the status of our fleet? Ready for deployment, my queen, but their numbers are greater than ours. Alex studied the tactical displays. The Kethmore had united dozens of species under their banner, all united by fear of the human Velnari hybrids. It was the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. We can't fight them ship to ship, Alex said. They outnumber us 3-1. Then what do you suggest? Zixara asked. Alex thought about the guerrilla tactics that had worked at Pextala, but this was different. The Kethmore had learned from that defeat. They were expecting hit-and-run attacks now. We need to think like humans in wartime, Alex said slowly. Not just about fighting, but about surviving. Over the next several hours, Alex worked with the Velnari military leaders to plan something that had never been attempted before. A galaxy-wide resistance movement. We abandon the outer colonies, Alex explained. But we don't abandon the people. We evacuate who we can and leave behind resistance cells, small groups of fighters who know the local terrain and can strike at Kethmore supply lines. You want us to retreat? Asked Admiral Rexana, one of the more traditional commanders. I want us to survive, Alex replied. The Kethmore expect us to meet them in glorious battle and lose gloriously. Instead, we're going to make them work for every planet they take. The plan was controversial, but it worked. As Kethmore fleets conquered Velnari worlds, they found themselves facing constant sabotage. Supply convoys were attacked. Communication arrays were destroyed. Kethmore soldiers couldn't sleep safely because they never knew when resistance fighters would strike. Alex helped train the resistance leaders, teaching them lessons from Earth's history. How to blend in with civilian populations, how to make explosives from common materials, how to spread propaganda that would turn local populations against the occupiers. But the most important lesson was psychological. The Kethmore think they're superior warriors, Alex told a group of young Velnari fighters. They expect you to be afraid of them. Instead, make them afraid of you, make them paranoid, make them see enemies everywhere. The strategy began working better than anyone had expected. Kethmore forces found themselves controlling planets but not the people on them. Their supply lines were constantly under attack. Their communications were intercepted and jammed. Most importantly, other species began to see that the mighty Kethmore could be beaten. The turning point came when Alex proposed the most dangerous plan yet. We're going to fake a retreat, he explained to the War Council. We're going to make Gorthak think he's won. The plan was insane. They would evacuate the core worlds of the Empire, including the capital. They would make it look like the Velnari were fleeing in panic, abandoning their most precious territories. In reality, it would be the largest trap in galactic history. You're asking me to abandon our home, Zixara said quietly. They were alone in their quarters with baby Zara sleeping between them. I'm asking you to save it, Alex replied. Gorthak wants a final battle, a glorious victory that he can use to justify his war to the galaxy. If we give him that battle on his terms, we lose. But if we give it to him on our terms, we might win. or we might all die. I won't lie to you about the risks." Zixara looked down at their sleeping daughter. "What kind of galaxy are we leaving?" "For her, the best one we can manage. The evacuation took 3 months. Millions of Velnari left their homeworld carrying only what they could take with them. To the rest of the galaxy, it looked like the Empire was collapsing. Gorthak took the bait perfectly. The entire Kethmore fleet converged on the Velnari capital, ready to claim the ultimate prize. They found the planet defended by only a skeleton force. Gorthak laughed as he prepared to land his armies and claim victory. He didn't know that the planet was laced with hidden weapons. He didn't know that the fleeing Velnari fleets were actually positioning themselves to surround his forces. And he didn't know that the seemingly empty cities were filled with resistance fighters ready to turn the capital into a deadly maze. The battle for the Velnari homeworld lasted 6 days. It was nothing like the clean, honorable ship battles the galaxy was used to. It was dirty, desperate fighting in streets and tunnels. It was booby traps and ambushes and sacrifices that kept Alex awake at night. On the 3rd day, Alex was leading a team of fighters through the ruins of the capital's main marketplace when they were cornered by a Kethmore patrol. The aliens were about to overrun their position when reinforcements arrived. But the reinforcements came at a terrible cost. Commander Dexon, the young engineer who had first helped Alex improve the power systems, died holding a corridor long enough for civilians to evacuate. As Alex knelt beside his friend's body, he felt the full weight of what his ideas had cost. Every tactical suggestion, every strategic innovation had a price measured in lives. "I'm sorry," Alex whispered to Dexon's still form. "I'm so sorry." But the plan worked. Surrounded and trapped, Gorthak's forces were systematically destroyed. The War Master himself died when his command ship was rammed by a Velnari cruiser, whose captain chose sacrifice over surrender. When the battle was over, the Kethmore Confederation had lost its entire leadership and most of its fleet. The surviving species quickly sued for peace, no longer unified by Gorthak's charismatic hatred. Alex stood in the ruins of the royal palace, holding baby Zara while Zixara surveyed the damage to their world. The victory had come at an enormous cost. Millions were dead. Entire cities were destroyed. The Empire would take decades to fully recover. But they had survived. More than that, they had proven something important to the galaxy. "The other species are sending ambassadors," Zixara reported. "They want to negotiate new treaties. They want to learn about human military tactics." Alex shifted Zara to his other arm. She was growing fast, already showing signs of the intelligence and adaptability that made her generation so remarkable. "They want to learn how to be like us." "Is that what you wanted?" Alex thought about it. "I wanted to save your people. I wanted to give Zara a future. If that means changing the galaxy, then I guess that's what we've done." Zixara moved closer to him, and they stood together looking out at the damaged but still standing city. "The question now is what kind of future we're building." Alex looked down at his daughter, who was watching him with eyes that held both human warmth and Velnari intelligence. She represented something new in the galaxy, something that had never existed before. "I don't know," he said honestly, "but I know it's going to be interesting." As if in response to his words, baby Zara reached out with one tiny hand and touched his face. For just a moment, Alex felt what she was feeling through her developing telepathic abilities. Love, security, hope, and something else. Something that felt like the future itself. Vast and unknown but full of possibilities. The galaxy had changed forever. The only question now was whether it had changed for the better. Alex held his daughter closer and decided that, whatever came next, they would face it together, the human way, with stubborn hope and the refusal to give up no matter how impossible the odds. 5 years had passed since the end of the war, and Alex Carter barely recognized the galaxy he now lived in. He stood on the observation deck of the starship New Horizon, watching as Earth grew larger in the view screen. Beside him, his wife Zixara held their youngest child, 3-year-old Marcus, while their 5-year-old daughter Zara pressed her face against the transparent aluminum, staring in wonder at the blue planet below. Is that really where you came from, Daddy? Zara asked, her voice carrying the musical quality of the Velnari language mixed with human inflection. That's home, Alex said simply. Or it was, anyway. This was Alex's first return to Earth since he had been taken. The planet looked exactly the same from space, but Alex knew that everything else had changed. The Velnari had made contact 3 years ago, beginning carefully managed exchanges of knowledge and culture. Earth was no longer alone in the universe. The delegation from the Terran Council is requesting permission to board, announced Captain Nexara, a young Velnari officer who had been born after the war. Like many of her generation, she wore a mixture of traditional Velnari clothing and human-inspired designs. Permission granted, Zixara replied formally, then switched to a more relaxed tone. And Nexara? Try to remember that humans prefer handshakes to telepathic greetings. The captain smiled, showing teeth stained blue in the Velnari fashion, but filed to human-style points in a hybrid aesthetic that was becoming popular among young people throughout the Empire. Alex adjusted his formal robes one more time. He was nervous about this meeting in a way that surprised him. He had faced down alien warlords and led resistance movements, but the thought of explaining his choices to his own species made his stomach tight. The human delegation that came aboard was led by Dr. Sarah Kim, Earth's newly appointed ambassador to the Velnari Empire. She was younger than Alex had expected, probably in her early 30s, with the kind of intense intelligence that reminded him of the scientists he worked with daily. Mr. Carter? She said, extending her hand in the traditional human greeting. It's an honor to meet you. You've become quite famous on Earth. Famous for what? Alex asked as they shook hands. For being the first human to leave the solar system. For helping to end a galactic war. For proving that humanity has something to offer the wider universe. Her smile was warm, but professional. And for starting the most successful interspecies marriage in known history. Alex glanced at Zixara, who was watching the exchange with obvious amusement. Their marriage had indeed become a symbol throughout the galaxy, proof that different species could not only work together, but truly love each other. I'd like you to meet my family, Alex said. My wife, Queen Zixara of the Velnari Empire. Dr. Kim's diplomatic composure slipped slightly as she realized she was meeting galactic royalty. Your Majesty, it's an incredible honor. Please call Zixara. We are among friends. The Queen's English had improved dramatically over the years, though she still spoke with a slight accent that made certain words sound like music. And these are our children, Alex continued. Zara and Marcus. Dr. Kim knelt down to Zara's level. Hello there. I've heard so much about you. Zara tilted her head, studying the human woman with eyes that were clearly more than just observant. You're nervous, she said matter-of-factly. Your emotions are very loud. Alex winced. Hybrid children had inherited stronger telepathic abilities than pure Velnari, and they sometimes forgot that humans weren't used to having their feelings read so easily. Zara, Zixara said gently, what have we discussed about commenting on people's emotions without permission? Sorry, Zara said, though she didn't look particularly sorry. But she is nervous. Are you afraid of us? Dr. Kim recovered quickly. Not afraid, excited. You and your brother represent something completely new in human history. Little Marcus, who had been shy around the strangers, suddenly perked up. Are you from Earth? Do you know about dinosaurs? I do know about dinosaurs, Dr. Kim laughed. Would you like to hear about them? As the children peppered Dr. Kim with questions about Earth, Alex and Zixara led the adult members of the delegation on a tour of the ship. The New Horizon was one of the new generation of vessels, designed with both human and Velnari technology. It was faster and more efficient than anything either species had built alone. The cooperation between our peoples has exceeded all expectations, explained Dr. Lisa Chen, Earth's lead scientist on the exchange program. The medical advances alone have eliminated dozens of diseases that have plagued humanity for centuries. And human innovation has revitalized our entire technological sector, added Velnari Science Minister Kexara, who had become one of Alex's closest advisors over the years. We estimate that progress has accelerated by a factor of 10 since we began incorporating human problem-solving methods. But Alex knew the tour was just preparation for the real conversation. That came later, in the ship's conference room, when the formal pleasantries were over. "Mr. Carter," Dr. Kim began, "the people of Earth have some questions about the direction of human-alien relations, such as whether humanity's future lies among the stars or on our home planet. The technology we've gained from the Felnari has transformed our society. We can travel to other worlds now. We can live for centuries. We can communicate telepathically." She paused. "Some people are asking whether we're still human." Alex had expected this question. It had kept him awake many nights over the past few years. "What do you think it means to be human?" he asked. "I think it means being from Earth. Having human parents, living a human lifespan and facing human challenges." "Then by your definition, my children aren't human." Dr. Kim looked uncomfortable. "That's not what I meant, but it's what you implied." Alex leaned forward. "Dr. Kim, I've been away from Earth for 7 years. In that time, I've seen species that are millions of years old become extinct because they couldn't change. I've seen others thrive because they were willing to adapt and grow." He gestured toward the view screen where Earth hung in the darkness. "That planet down there is all of human history. Every person who ever lived and died was born there. But it's not all of human future." "You're talking about abandoning our home?" "I'm talking about expanding it." Alex stood up and walked to the view screen. "My daughter Zara is half human and half Velnari. But when I watch her solve problems, when I see her show compassion for others, when I hear her laugh at something silly, she's completely human to me. She's just human in a way that previous generations couldn't be." Zixara joined him at the window. "Alex is right. Being human isn't about genetics or birthplace. It's about the way you think, the way you approach problems, the way you refuse to give up hope." "The galaxy has thousands of species," Alex continued. "Most of them have given up trying to be better than they are. They've accepted that they are what they are, and that's the end of it. Humans are different. We've always believed we could be better tomorrow than we are today." Dr. Kim was quiet for a long moment. "And you think that quality will survive as we spread to other worlds? As we intermarry with alien species?" "I think it's the one thing that definitely will survive," Alex replied, "because it's not biological. It's cultural. It's the idea that no matter how bad things get, no matter how impossible the odds, there's always a chance things can get better." Later that evening, Alex found himself alone on the observation deck looking down at Earth. Tomorrow they would land, and he would walk on his homeworld for the first time in 7 years. He was excited and terrified in equal measure. "Second, thoughts?" Zixara asked as she joined him. "About what?" "About coming home. About introducing our children to your world." Alex considered the question. "No, not second thoughts, just complicated feelings." "Explain." Alex smiled. Even after all these years, Zixara sometimes still approached emotions like a scientific problem to be analyzed. "I love Earth," he said. "It's where I learned to be who I am. But I'm not the same person who left here. I've changed, and Earth has changed too. Change is not always bad." "No, it's not. But it means things can never be the way they were." Zixara was quiet for a moment. "Do you regret coming with me?" Alex turned to look at his wife, this amazing being who had transformed his life in ways he was still discovering. "Never, not for a second. Even when you think about the life you left behind, the simple life." Alex laughed. "Simple?" "Zixara, my life back then wasn't simple. It was empty. I went to work, I came home, I went to sleep, and I did it all again the next day. That's not simple, that's just nothing." He took her hand, marveling as he always did at the way her skin seemed to glow with its own light. "Now I'm married to a queen. I'm the father of children who might save both our species. I've helped reshape the political structure of the galaxy. I've seen wonders that most humans can't even imagine. And some days I still miss pizza." Zixara laughed, a sound like silver bells. Over the years, she had learned to find humor in the contradictions of human nature. "We could synthesize pizza," she offered. "It's not the same." The next morning, they landed at the newly constructed Interstellar Relations Center in what used to be Nevada. As Alex stepped off the ship and felt Earth gravity for the first time in years, he was surprised by how heavy everything felt. A crowd had gathered to welcome them, and Alex was